Go. All right. So, in regards to Bitcoin, you made some very good points about counterparty risk. And I remember Bitcoin, it must have been 2012 or 13. Bitcoin was going up like crazy. CNBC was promoting Mount Gox. We were talking about this off air. And after I saw Bitcoin crash and burn with Mount Gox, people lost their life savings. I was like, hey, look, I don't want to be a part of this. And maybe I should have bought in 2015 or whenever when Bitcoin was what, $100 or 2014. Now it was much harder to buy at that time. And for me, not remembering the password was a huge turnoff because if I lost my password, which I forget a lot for my banks at work, then you're out of luck. So, yeah, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, that's the main reason I didn't get into Bitcoin is if you lost your password, you lost your money. So I was turned off by that because how many passwords you can't retrieve your password, you can't I don't know why they can't pull up something new like even a face identifier like they have those on iPhones or even a thumbprint or something along those lines or so yeah, I was always worried I would lose my password, so I never got involved on it. Peter Schiff actually lost his password one time.
Wait, Peter Schiff had Bitcoin?
Well, someone opened up an account with him. It wasn't like much, and so he started accepting Bitcoin donations, but he lost his password. So I forget what it was, but it wasn't set up right. But I don't know exactly. I just remember he was getting made fun of because he was like, "Yeah, this is another reason." So, but not having, and not only that, it wasn't even like a password you could remember. The password that was required was long and arduous. So I still don't remember a lot of passwords. And there was no hotline you can call to retrieve it or whatnot. So there was a lot of red flags to me in terms of Bitcoin. And that's why I never really was into Bitcoin. And the other thing you have to learn is a lot of people said due to the mathematical code, it can't be manipulated, it can't be done away with. But Sam Freed was selling fake bitcoins to people, or Bank Freed, or whatever he is.
He
Uh,
fried the bankers.
yeah, and so he basically was selling fake bitcoin. So all I have to say is just don't believe everything you hear on an investment, whether it's pro or con. Just remember, in my based on everything I've read and learned, and me and you have read and learned a lot over the last 10 or 11 years, everything can be manipulated. Everything can be fraudulent.
Uh,
Gold can be fraudulent through tungsten, and they would coat it with gold, and it would weigh the same. You'd literally have to break it open to see. So if gold can be, if a solid gold bar can be fraudulently done, so can a mathematical formula that no one can see. So that's the thing. Bitcoin, I think it's a good lesson for people because a lot of people just did not understand that every investment involves risk and they got too caught up. And when something is too good to be true and it keeps going up and up, that's a selling indicator, not a buying.
Indeed, indeed. And you're talking about how things could be faked and manipulated like that. And I've seen this over a decade ago with the gold silver market. A lot of things were just crazy. And then sports cards is just on another level. I've been telling you the stories. I just can't believe the amount of deceit and fraud in that industry. So a lot of games have been played, and now you could go to this Bitcoin. And what I find interesting, we have very similar views. We don't believe the mainstream too much. And when the mainstream was pumping and pushing Mount Gox over a decade ago, that should have been a red flag. Now, I wasn't savvy to that, but I didn't have anything invested in Bitcoin. And then the whole media was pumping up NFTs, was pumping up Bitcoin at what, 50, $60,000. You had Tom Brady doing advertisements with SBF or the FTX. You had all these other celebrities, Larry David, Steph Curry. And it's just quite interesting how this works, where the mainstream hypes it up. That's to the nth degree. I don't want to touch it. I want to maybe take the other side of that trade.
Well, the mainstream hyping it up is even a bigger red flag pertaining to Bitcoin than anything else, because Bitcoin was marketed as decentralized against the mainstream, anti-establishment. And when you have the modern day establishment hyping it up, that should be a red flag. And it should mean get out, even if you're at a loss, because losses can grow larger.
Oh yeah, indeed, indeed. So maybe one of the last topics we get into is I remember you were telling your friend at when Bitcoin was at $60,000. You don't follow that market too much. And
Yeah.
we could also look at sports cards. You came on my channel in what, February of March of 2021. You did
Mhm.
not know too much about sports cards, but you were saying that, hey, look, not the best time to buy sports cards. You came on, or you were telling your other buddy, hey, not the best time to buy Bitcoin. So without knowing too much about the market, how could you detect, hey, this is not a good time to buy? Because like a lot of people I knew, relatives, friends of my wife, they're all in on it. And then I'm like, wait, that's a red flag to me. So what was your red flags? How did you determine that it's not a good buy?
Well, actually, I have to be honest. On one of those sports cards, I'll say this since this is your channel. A lot of the stuff I just defer to you. So you were talking about the bubble, and so for a while I just took your word for it. So that's more of an endorsement of your channel. So that was one of the things. But another of them is just some of these players I've never heard of were going up to when I realized it for myself without like talking to you was when I saw Zion Williamson going for like $1 million and Justin Herbert going for $1 million, and I see all these rookies who one injury they're screwed, and the other one I even forget his name, but he was a guy,
Sam Vincent.
Sam Vincent, for like $500 card because I had a Jordan 45 on it. Now I can see like a $50 valuation or whatnot, but not anywhere near triple digits. So these valuations just got way out of whack. And it's like the stock market. Generally, you don't want to buy for simplistic purposes, this is a finance show, you all should know this. You don't want to buy a stock that's over 20 times earnings because that's overvalued. If you had to compare it to a stock, these cards were trading at 50 or 60 times earnings. So that's how I got it, was that. And then Bitcoin, that was $60,000 for just one coin. Not even gold or palladium was even traded at that. And it went up drastically. So, Bitcoin, just even if you looked at it just a valuation standpoint, compare it to other coins, compare it to its trade in dollars to foreign currencies, compare it to gold, compare it to palladium, compare it to platinum. The valuations were astronomical. So, just on a valuation standpoint, like I would say, Bitcoin should have to, at minimum, come back down to 1,000 or 2,000 just to be properly valued. And not only that, Bitcoin has never been used for any monetary purpose. And when I mean monetary, money. Like gold has been used. We used to be on a gold standard. We used to be on a silver standard. Platinum has tradition, minimum. I actually bought a lot of platinum jewelry at 800, so I'm doing solid on my platinum jewelry collection. And the main reason I did that is platinum normally trades at 1.7 times the price of gold. So and it was at 900. Gold was at 700. So just a valuation standpoint, I bought some platinum jewelry, and I still think platinum will go to 2 or 3 thousand bucks because of shortages, and now with the war on Russia. No, Russia's palladium, South Africa's platinum. South Africa has mining problems, so I think eventually supply will crunch, even more. And with palladium being up so much, Cadillac converters might switch to platinum. So, but just the thing is, you always want to look at valuation. It's not a panacea. There's the dark side of valuation, and you should never, based on stuff I've read, in my opinion, you should never short a company on valuation. It's the Porter Stansberry way is you should short a company only if you know something's intrinsically wrong with it. That valuation, things can get way out of whack, but that's the main thing is the valuations. And what I compared Bitcoin to, gold, silver, other metals are forms of monetary units, foreign currencies. It was way overvalued. And I think it still has room to fall, just on valuation.
Yeah, very good points. And like you were detecting in February last year about the sports card crash and Bitcoin earlier this year or November of last year, now all the retail crowd has gotten screwed over. So from a contrary perspective, I'm not telling people to go out there and buy, you have to do your own due diligence. I'm just looking at it. Hey, if everyone has, been, or if a lot of people have been screwed over, this is, in my opinion, a better buying opportunity if those that want to speculate, not with too much of their capital, just, a little bit here and there. That's the way that I see it from a contrary point of view.
Yeah, I see it like that. Something like Bitcoin, gold, silver, I think it's very important. A lot of people call it diversification. I don't really see it that way. I think you should have multiple assets and multiple diverse assets. Uh, and the main reason is it's you just don't know in this type of environment. And if you look at it, the rules are always changing. The definition of recession changed. So if the definition of recession changed, like the definition of a woman has changed. So we have rules that are always changing. So, I forget who said it, but someone said, just have a few eggs in a basket and watch that closely. I don't think you can do that anymore because we don't have a stable environment now. And the Fed has raised and lowered rates drastically just over the last couple of years. It went from raising rates from 2015, but from 2015, I think through 16, there was like a huge pause between first rate hike and the second. And then they started raising rates. And then in 2019, they started lowering rates again. And then they went to QE. Now they're jacking up rates. These cycles are shortening up 2 to 3 years, just what they're doing, raising rates, lowering rates. And that doesn't even count the regulatory environment that's going on that affects businesses and companies and what they have to comply with. Rules they have in place now were unthinkable in 2018, which was 4 to 5 years ago. So, in my opinion, people should try to diversify themselves. I undervalued, in my opinion, but you do want to diversify yourself because the rules are drastically changing. Like I used to be a fan of the emerging markets, but seeing their post 2020 policies, I would never touch them. So you always want to be able to exit a market quickly and just take your losses and run and not have them affect you materially. I still think there's great room for growth, but in my opinion, not advice, but that whole strategy of just have a couple of eggs in one basket and just watch it closely. Don't diversify. I think in this environment, in the next probably 10 or 15 years, that's going to be nuts.
Very good points, John. That being said, how can people follow your work?
I do have a YouTube channel still. So J22 Report is the finance one. And then J22 Report, sports and entertainment. If you really want to find my work very easily, I'm still the top Google search for this is the decline of the American athlete. But that's no one's talked about that. So if you search that, you should be able to find me easily. But that's not a thing for this channel. But J22 Report, that's a YouTube channel, will be the best way. So I do want to start doing videos again. Hopefully, I'll have more time. Work obligations have been killing me the last year. So, but yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again.
Come on to the show. I love coming on. So, uh, and thank you to everyone that's listening to this.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll do more of these sometime next year, guys. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Is it done recording?
I think it's still recording. Hold